Sarkar, Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Srinivas Palakotty, Chief Financial Officer, and Mr. R. Ravi, Vice President. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on a touch-tone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Ravi Ramalingam, Vice President, Hinduja Global Solutions Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Rucha. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I, R. Ravi, Head of Investor Relations at AGL, wishing all a very good evening and a warm welcome to the fourth quarter FY21 results conference call. To discuss the fourth quarter results and full year FY21 financials, I am joined by Mr. Parthiv Sarkar, Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer, and Mr. Srinivas Palakotty, the Global CFO. Before we begin the conference call, I would like to mention that some of the statements made and during the course of today's conference call may be forward-looking in nature, including those related to the future financial and operating performances, benefits and synergies of the company's strategies, future opportunities, and the growth of market of the company's service and solutions. Further, I would like to mention that some of the statements made in today's conference call may be forward-looking in nature and may involve risk and uncertainties. I would like to add a couple of more points. During the Q&A session, questions should be asked only related to the Q4 FY21 financial and FY21 financial. The management would not be commenting on any of the speculative news doing round. There is an investor presentation made by Adfactors, been already emailed to all the investors. I'm sure all of you had the chance to go through. Before I hand over the call to Parthiv Sarkar, I would like to mention that if there is a call drop during the course of the conference call, please bear with the management. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, all of us are still taking calls in mobile from various locations, and hence call drops are likely to be a recurring problem. Now I would like to invite Mr. Parthiv Sarkar to provide his perspective on the performance of the fourth quarter and also on the full year FY21. Thank you, and over to Mr. Parthiv.
Thank you, Ravi, and a very good afternoon to all of you. This time we made a change in format of our earnings call. We have actually got a deck that has been uploaded on our website and has been mailed to many of you by Adfactors PR, whom we've appointed to be in charge of our investor relations deck. So the earnings call will refer to the presentation deck as we go through it. So the first slide on the deck essentially talks about, at a very high level, what this company is all about. About $454 million in revenue with 56 delivery centers in 7 countries, employing approximately 40,000 people and having about 254 BPM clients. We operate in 3 spaces, by and large, healthcare being our largest space, followed by customer experience transformation and digital. We handle voice calls, 4.5 voice minutes, chat, 325K chat, 150 million healthcare experiences, and globally we support about 34 languages. What are our key strengths? This company is today a strong net cash company with very strong free cash flows. 60% of our revenues come from tenured clients who've been with us for more than 10 years. We have a good geographical footprint. We call it the right shore footprint. We have good presence onshore in US, Canada, and UK, near shore in Jamaica, and offshore locations like India and Philippines. Today, I'm very proud to say that our client satisfaction score is at an all-time high. It's the highest score that we have received since we started the third-party CSAT survey. And also, our employee satisfaction surveys also this year has come out to be the highest in all the years that we have been doing employee satisfaction. Our 5-year revenue CAGR is about 10.9%. Our 5-year PAT CAGR is 27.2%. Our EPS for the last year is 161 rupees, and we paid out a dividend of rupees 40 per share in FY 2021. I would also like to say that we are a company with zero promoter pledge. A view of the industry that we operate in, the global BPO spending, as you have in this slide out here, has a CAGR of about 5.1%. This is the Gartner prediction, and you see that this is a steadily increasing line. For the year 2022, it's predicted to be about $206 billion. And that obviously is a massive market. And it's fairly fragmented that allows us, players like us, to play in equal footing with some of the big guys. If you look at what's new since the last 5 years, you will see the graph on the right telling you that though the whole pie has been growing, traditional BPO as a percentage of total revenues is now a lower percentage as compared to others. So if you look at it, business process as a service, and that service includes many custom-made platform as well, has also been growing pretty handsomely in the last 5 years. What are the highlights of last year? I think we had a fantastic year where many things came together. But the key thing that helped us survive the pandemic has been the speed at which we deployed the work-at-home solution. So we've been able to report a very strong top line and profitability growth. The fact that we did not have travel, tourism, and hospitality, it is a very minuscule portion of our revenue. That actually helped us a lot because these three sectors have been seriously impacted by the pandemic. I talked about the fact that this year has also seen our highest ever ESAT goals and CSAT goals. So in a way, it can also be said that these three are actually connecting three dots together. Happy employees, happy clients, and happy with shareholders as well, because you've seen the numbers for this quarter. They have been really, really strong. We've had very big wins in healthcare and the public sector, specifically the UK public sector. The UK public sector has played a stellar role in the growth of quarter four. These are two specific projects that we did pertaining to Brexit support for the UK government and for vaccination support for the UK government. The work-at-home technology that we talked about was the key success factor of our ability to produce a strong result. When pandemic hit us in quarter one, we had no idea that the full year would be so strong. And the one factor, the single largest factor that helped us was that we had about 1,000 people operating in Canada from work at home anyway. And all we had to do was to rapidly deploy that technology and that knowledge globally. And I have to say that we are one of the first few companies who are off the block with a really fast deployment of work at home. The technology that was required to deliver it, the fact that we had to ship dongles and UPSs and headphones to every associate's office, all of that was done in record time. And that made sure that after quarter one, we recovered our revenues in quarter two, quarter three, and quarter four, and the results are there for all to see. A comparison with previous year quarter on a like-to-like basis, we've grown by 21.5% in rupee terms and 31.7% in EBIT terms. And that you have to bear in mind that we sold off the India domestic business in Jan 2020. And that is why the numbers look so spectacular, because February and March, we did not have revenues from India domestic. Next slide, slide 8, talks about as reported, a good performance again, with profit after tax growing by about 190.6%. Revenues grew about 18.6%, EBITDA grew about 24.5%, profit before tax grew about 72%, and profit after tax grew about 190.6%. Very pleased to say it has obviously been the strongest quarter in our 21-year history. If you compare the 2 years, because I think that's more relevant, it takes out the effect of pandemic, and you will still see that in the year of pandemic, in the year that we actually sold off the India domestic business, we've still grown our revenues by 14.6% and our profitability by 16%. Slide 10 gives further detail. As reported, what you get to see, despite the sale of India, you're still able to see about 6.8% of revenue growth. You're able to see 7.9% of EBITDA growth, 27.1% of PBT growth, and 63.4% on profit after tax growth. Clearly, we are very happy to produce these kind of numbers, specifically on the profit after tax numbers. How has AGS evolved? You will see that the channel mix today has actually dropped significantly from what used to be a traditional voice-based business. Voice-based business sometime back was almost more than 75% of our revenue. Today, with the addition of digital and transaction processing, the voice-based revenues have dropped to about 68%. We have signed up about 37 new logos for digital services in FY 2021. The areas that we are focusing on is what we call AAA, which is analytics, automation, and artificial intelligence. This year also has been a spectacular growth year for UK. This is because we have had massive wins with the UK public sector, and the business has virtually grown by 60.7%. I talked about the fact that we've gone large contracts from the government in cooperation with Fujitsu on the Brexit support. We've also had a contract to support the NHS in the UK vaccination rollout in Q4. Our headcount has increased to 2,357 from a number which was close to about 1,000. And all of that has been done in just 1 year. We've actually been able to deploy technology which is cloud-based. That has allowed us to flex our capacity fantastically. And we've also been able to hire from all over the UK as opposed to being tied down to the 3 cities like London, Chiswick, and Preston, where we had our physical location. We've been able to do this from all over the UK, and that's one of the secrets behind the success of UK this year. I mentioned about work at home and why that is a game changer. It took us 2 months to completely move work at home, and this is a global deployment. Today, about 85% plus of our workforce is working from work from home. A very few who have information security needs are working on or are working on some critical processes continue to come to office. But this is the single contributing factor for our ability to recover our revenues in Q2 to Q4. Everything, not only production processes, even support processes like interviewing, recruiting, hiring, onboarding, training, everything has moved to work from home. I myself, as a CEO of the company, has been working from home for the last 1 year. I've gone to office in only 1 year. My CFO, Mr. Kala Kodeti, has also been similarly working from home. So this has been a massive success story. And as I mentioned, the fact that we've deployed technology in the form of cloud has also helped us flex our capacity. And the good thing about cloud is you're not stuck with infrastructure. You are able to ramp up and ramp down depending upon the seasonality of demand and supply. That gives you a lot of flexibility. It is also a very, very capex light model. And that we believe is a working model for the future. We believe because we were able to deploy work from home last year, our annual savings on account of savings on utility, maintenance, travel, all of that is to the tune of $5.6 million on a net basis for this hybrid delivery model. Want to talk about our COVID response. the fact that we moved people back home, they are working in the safety of their homes, and that has been our primary concern, employee safety. Every employee has been taken care of. We've made sure that there is enough availability of technical support, wellness and fitness are all issues, engagements are all turned virtual. We've done everything that is possible to make sure that our remote employees are productive and happy. Even in the second wave, when India particularly went through a big hit, we focused on employee health, safety and well-being. We've given 14 additional leave for affected employees in sub-geographies. We've added counseling and support groups, extended plans for family members, increased life cover in case of employee demise, focused on employee mental health. The stress has been the biggest productivity killer this year. We've tried to make sure that our employees are stress-free. Today, as we speak, we are also organizing a vaccination camp for our employees in Bangalore. 2 weeks back, we did it in Mumbai, and this week we are doing it in Bangalore. All of this to make sure that our employees are safe so that they can be productive. So what's the new normal? We will be continuing to work. We call it the work from anywhere model. We will continue to leverage cloud technology, which, as I mentioned, is a capex light model. We will continue to invest in digital, which is the AAA strategy that I talked about, artificial intelligence, automation, and analytics. And we are looking at how can we drive verticalization deeper so that we enjoy from the domain experience. Key takeaways, as I said, the 3 connected dots. Happy employees means happy customers, and hopefully as shareholders you are happy as well because of the numbers that we have been able to produce. Never before have these 3 metrics been aligned so perfectly. It just goes to demonstrate how at the core of everything that we do is a very happy and productive employee who is giving his best to keep his customers and ultimately his shareholders happy. We have also taken care of the community. Our CSR program, despite the constraints of the pandemic, we have had 51,000 hours volunteering, which is benefiting about 220,000 beneficiaries. So we really impacted all 4 stakeholders within this. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Pala for his financial update. Pala, over to you.
Thank you, Partha. I hope all of you are able to hear me.
Very clear.
Thank you. So we move to Q4 FY21 performance. As Partha mentioned, we have actual growth of about 21.6% in terms of revenue. But from a reported basis, the growth is about 18.6%. We've had an FX impact of about 1.5% in terms of on the revenue. There's actually been a phenomenal growth in terms of volumes of about 19.5%. And then if you back off whatever was the drop due to the impact of sale of business, it's about 2.5%. We are in a very strong position of 18.6% revenue growth on a year-on-year basis. Margins, you would see, have improved from 14.3% to 15%. And at the PAT level, the profits have shot up by about 190%. So we almost delivered in Q4 of FY21 profits which are almost twice the profits delivered in Q4 of FY20. On a full year basis, the revenue growth may look muted at 6.8%. As we explained earlier, we have taken out the revenues from the India domestic business, and there were some pass-through revenues which we have explained are no longer there. So out of the total growth, FX impact is 4.1%, volume growth is about 9.4%, and then there is 2.1% impact of businesses which we have exited, giving to revenue growth of 6.8%. Margins have also improved, and there's a growth of about 8% at EBITDA level. Couple of call-outs on the exceptional items. 211 million in FY20 pertains to write-off of some goodwill on intangible, whereas the exceptional item in FY21, that is related to additional purchase consideration paid for acquiring the balance stake in HGS Digital LLC or Elements. So in January of FY21, we completed purchase of the balance stake. So we now own 100% of HGS Digital LLC. We have declared 3 interim dividends of 6 rupees each during the year. The final dividend declared, approved by the board, and this is of course subject to shareholder approval, is 22 rupees per share, which includes 15 rupees of special dividend. That brings a total dividend of 40 rupees per share, and which in terms of payout comes to about 25% of the consolidated profits. And in absolute amounts, the dividends have increased from 20 rupees per share in FY20 to 40 rupees per share for FY21. From a revenue split perspective, healthcare continues to perform very well and accounts for about 55.8% of total revenues. USA continues to be the largest market in terms of origination at about 73%. And as Partha mentioned earlier, with the strong growth in UK, that has now become the third largest market and accounts for about 9% of total revenues. In terms of PAT, this is at 336 crores of PAT. This is highest ever in terms of the PAT in the history of the company. EBITDA is also at an all-time high at about 773 crores. And as people who have been tracking, there's also been a significant increase in our market cap. And as of today, it's roughly around 36,000 million or 3,600 crores. We continue to reduce our debt. During FY21, we reduced debt by about 2,106 million. And we have ended the year on a net cash basis of 1,365 million. Our capex for the year was 1,581 million. This is higher than what we had in FY20 for 2 reasons. We had to incur extra capex to part of the dongles, hotspots, and other equipment we acquired to enable our employees to work from home. The other thing is, when we work from home, obviously each employee needs to have a separate computer, whereas if they work from office, based on shifts, that can be shared. So there is some impact of that as well. Our DSO days, while slightly higher compared to FY20, needs to be borne in mind that revenues in actual terms grew by about 21% in Q4. At the overall level, our collections have been good, and we've had no impact of any financial health of our clients deteriorating because of COVID. Cash flows continue to remain strong, and about 49% of our free cash of EBITDA got converted into free cash. And we've also seen an increase in return on capital employed from about 16.2% last year to 18%. Out of our total debt, about 64% of our debt is in the form of long-term loans. We have most of the loans linked to LIBOR, but we also have loans which are in the form of with interest rate swaps and fixed rate. As we speak, on 31st March, there was no debt in India except for an ECB of equivalent of little over 110 crores. While we do have surplus, because of regulatory requirements, we are not in a position to prepay the loan without RBI approval. Coming to FX, we continue to take forward covers on a rolling 12-month basis. So we have FX covers with an average of about 76.9 rupees for the dollar for FY22, which compares very favorably with the current spot rates of little over 74. We have rates touching going all the way up to 84 when you look at our forward covers for FY23 and 24. And of course, this is not fully hedged. We typically hedge up to 75% of our expected revenues. On the Philippines side as well, we have rates in the range of 48.6 to 48.9, which is broadly in line with the current spot rate of 48.67. Partha talked about the CSAT scores being at all-time high, ESAT scores at all-time high. If you recall, by end of December 20, our PAT for the current financial year for the first 3 quarters had already exceeded the full year's profits of FY20. And clearly we have, as we declared better results, the markets have recognized our performance, and our share price has seen a significant increase, and it has gone up by about close to 285% over the last 12 months or so. Definitely higher than the increase in CNX IT and Nifty 50. That is all for my section. I would now like to hand it over to the moderator, and we'd be happy to take questions and answers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to withdraw yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 now. The first question is from the line of Siddharth Oberoi from Prudent Equity. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I wanted to know, you've reported that the healthcare contributes 55% of the revenue. What is the profitability of this division?
Hi, this is Pala here. We don't give individual breakup of any particular line of business. So we only report overall profitability.
So, but is it a low margin business or a high one? If you can give that. Amongst your portfolio of businesses.
No, I don't want to give specifics. What we are willing to share is the overall margins rather than specific margins of a particular vertical.
All right. So, of course, the performance has been very good, and the pace of revenue growth is almost about 8% Q on Q. So, has this been possible because of the last 2-3 quarters of the orders bagging, or is there something else at work here?
What do you mean by something else at work? I didn't understand the question.
I mean, is it that the existing customers are giving you more orders, or is it the new orders, the recent orders that you have bagged are contributing more to it?
It's a combination of both. Our existing clients have also grown very, very well. As I also mentioned, that we've had 2 large wins in the UK public sector. That has contributed very handsomely in Q4. So the answer to your question is the combination of both factors.
All right. Okay. Also, any update on the intercorporate deposits, between company and the promoter?
Pala, you want to take that?
Yeah, I'm continuing. So we do have ICDs. They were all repaid during the year. We were sitting in a position of cash surplus. And as I mentioned earlier, we do not have any working capital borrowings on the India balance sheet. The only loan which we had on the India balance sheet was in ECB, which we cannot prepay without RBI approval. So these funds have been redeployed, and the money is available prepayable before end March 2022, but payable back on demand if there is a need for the needs of the company, to meet the needs of the company.
Okay, so right now there are no deposits, lent to the promoters. Is that correct?
No. As of 31st March, there is debt, short-term debt of 359.5 crores. These are all repayable before March 2022 or on demand. So we can call that money back as and when required.
All right. Also, I wanted to know about this special dividend. What is the significance of this? Is it not recurring? This 25% of the profits that you are paying?
So as I said, last year we paid a total of 20 rupees, and this year we paid 40. We are in a dynamic situation. So we've just called it special dividend, but even if you see the other part, there is an increase compared to the same dividend which we have declared in the previous 3 quarters.
Okay, but since you called it special, it's like a one-time something, or can this be continued in the future?
Yeah. So the board will take a decision as we go through the year. So right now, I don't want to say anything more beyond the fact that our dividend for the full year are at 40 rupees, which is double of what we had in FY20.
Okay. All right, sir. Also regarding this tax rate, why is the tax rate so low? In the previous con calls, you had stated that it will be about 32%. So is there a shifting to a different tax slab or something?
So I think we did mention, anyway, that's part of the publication page. There was an option to take either, full rate and with tax benefits, or take 25% without tax benefits. So we did our evaluation. We were better off, so that's what we have opted for.
So, but then from FY22, you revert back to the original, or?
No, it's a one-time election, so you can't change that. So for India, we will be at 25% of our profits without any exemption, even if we have SEZ limits.
And Jamaica, what are the tax rates there?
That's about 12%.
Sorry to interrupt. Mr. Oberoi, may I request you to please rejoin the queue? We have participants waiting for the
Sure. All right. Okay.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shubhankar from SKSSPL. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks and congratulations for a great set of numbers. So 2 questions basically. One was on the dividend part. So FY21 effectively it is 40%, and excluding that 15 rupees special about 25%. 15%. And last year actually we had 20% payout. So are you going to, maintain a 20% kind of a payout number? Because last year it was 20. This year, excluding the one time, it is 15%. Are you going to maintain somewhat 15-20% kind of a range?
So Shubhankar,
Are we able to gradually improve the same? Because overall, I think on a quarter-on-quarter basis, there has been higher payout.
Yeah. So Shubhankar, there are 2 ways to look at it. So if you look at the first 3 interim dividends, those were at 6 rupees.
Yeah.
Now here it is a total of 22. So there is, if you split it up, you said 15 is special. So 7 is, what would have been against 6. That's what you need to compare. But I think the more relevant portion is that for our profits have gone up, and we maintained the payout ratio at 25%, and we paid 40 rupees per share compared to 20 rupees per share last year.
Right. Understood. Okay, so second is related to the margin. This has been phenomenal in terms of improvement in the overall margin. Now, what will be obviously I'm not asking for a guidance, but what are the factors that you will watch out for in terms of a margin improvement from here on or an erosion? Because FY 21 we had a benefit from the work from home that you have clearly stated. So other clients, while talking to them, are you getting the same fare? Pretty okay with this kind of model, or they are willing to come back once things normalize?
I don't know, Shubhankar, I was not able to hear you. Your line was very disturbed.
Okay. Is it better now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was asking about the margin, EBITDA margin. We had seen a significant improvement in your margin last year. So what are the factors that we'll have to watch out for FY22 in terms of a margin improvement from further or a erosion? I mean, are the clients willing to continue with this work from home model, or are they, kind of asking employees to come back to office once the thing normalizes?
Yeah, because I mentioned the fact that UK performed very well. If you go back to our history of UK performance, it used to be a slightly loss-making operating unit. This year, it has made a fantastic turnaround. It has made a very handsome profits, and even in the current year, we are seeing encouraging signs from UK. So from a loss-making unit to a significantly contributing unit, that's been a swing that has contributed a large amount to quarter four profitability, and we expect that to be sustained. The second question also is about what happens to our clients. It is a little premature. We haven't yet had any client coming and saying that we have to come back to work. The dialogue has just about started, but we are not in a position to give you any concrete yes or no to the answer as to whether our clients are asking us to come back to office. We haven't yet taken a position on that, nor have our clients taken a position on that.
Got it. And in terms of this growth momentum, I mean, you had a great quarter four with a volume growth of 19.5%. Now, FY22, I mean, do you see a similar growth trend will continue, or as you said, like quarter four, you had a benefit of the vaccination program in UK. Is it a kind of one-off, or you think that these are the volume growth numbers that can sustain? 19.5% is like pretty high team, but do you think it will be somewhere between 10-15 or 10 to 20% range?
Shubhankar, look, it is very difficult to say which way vaccination will go. You yourself must be reading in the press what's happening to vaccination all over the world. There are so many theories floating around. So whether the vaccination support will be an ongoing activity, whether the vaccination will be a seasonal activity, is difficult for us to comment on that right now. We do have the vaccination support program that is going to continue for quite a few months going forward. And then as and when vaccination strategies change, it will be time for a second shot, third shot, fourth shot. We don't know. They're talking about people below the age of 18 now getting vaccinated, right? So if you look at the vaccination that has happened worldwide, it has mostly been targeted towards people 18 plus of age. Right now, if you start vaccinating children, that creates a new wave of vaccination support. So, right. I will not be able to tell you for sure, no, this is seasonal, no, this is going to stay. We've signed up with the UK government to support that government. Whatever the government's policy is towards how they want to vaccinate the population, we are going to be their partners.
Understood. Thanks so much, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shubhankar.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, to ask a question, you may press star and 1 now. The next question is from the line of Anand Agarwal from Balaji Invest. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me opportunity. First of all, I hope that all the team of HGS are doing well during this pandemic. My question is related with the year has gone, fantastic. As you said that the work from home, that was the major reason. But I just want to understand a broader picture, say 2 years down the line, how you are seeing, what kind of growth the company is targeting in both the verticals, in all the verticals.
So, sir, the best answer for this will be to look at our history and see what has been our track record of growth. So I think we will be able to sustain the track record of growth that we have delivered year on year, and that's what you should count on.
So this year, can we expect that this year was exceptional, as the kind of growth this year we have seen is better than earlier?
No, as I said, you have to
Especially
look at it over the long term.
Especially profitability, not in terms of revenue, especially I mean in margins and profitability.
Look, the attempt will be to improve our profitability going forward. As I said, work at home itself has contributed about $6 million in operating profitability, right? If you're able to sustain this model, it is a capex light model as well. So if you're able to sustain that and our clients agree to keep continuing to do work at home on an ongoing basis, I think this margin can be sustained. Also, if the UK performance continues in the way that it has performed last year, I also see the profitability being in a good, stable situation.
Okay. And one more question. I mean, this there was a rumor in the market for the hiving of this healthcare vertical. So, is there any view on that?
Look, at the very outset of the call, I think Ravi, who's in charge of investor relations, clarified that we will not be commenting on rumors or speculation.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's from my side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Manvardhan Dey from Laurel Investment Advisors. Please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And congratulations.
Good evening.
Great set of numbers. So, maybe if you could guide us through what is happening in UK. I mean, obviously, one is aware of the changes that you've made over the last couple of years, but finally one is seeing that in the numbers. So, and it seems that business is probably going to grow at a different pace than the rest. So maybe if you could take us through how you see that business ahead.
So it's been a turnaround. If you have been tracking our performance, our user performance has been rather dismal till about 2019. This year, as I said, because we are a part of the UK government procurement framework, we have been able to bag quite a few orders pertaining to Brexit support and pertaining to NHS vaccination. So that's what's added to our revenues, and our pipeline, UK public sector pipeline, is actually pretty strong. So we hope to be able to continue the growth here.
So, since obviously this business has transformed and one can't historically look at the pace at which this business is done. So when one looks forward, what is the kind of pace that one can expect this business to grow at?
You're talking about the UK business, or you're talking about the total business?
Just the UK business.
No, the UK business has been totally transformed. You're right. It's grown at about 64% this year over previous year. So look, we do want to sustain, the revenue pipeline that we have built. So I think going forward also you will find a strong performance from UK.
Fair enough. Also on the US side, obviously there's been a change of guard on the government over there. So are there some policy changes or something that is that we see happening which might work in our favor or not work in our favor?
Nothing specific that I can comment on. Pala, do you have anything specific to comment on?
No, the only thing I would say is that, every 4 years or 8 years, there's a change in the US presidency. But in this whole period, we have our healthcare portfolio has grown in terms of revenues.
Fair enough. So, in terms of, since on the health side, the earlier regime had a very specific and so is there some view on that? Are we going back to those days of Obamacare or that coming back?
You're talking about the Affordable Care Act?
That's right.
Yeah, look, the Affordable Care Act may be back in some shape or form. We don't have any concrete comment on that today.
Right, sir. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Participants who wishes to ask a question, please press star and one now. The next question is from the line of Chirag, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hello.
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 Yes, please.
Yeah, am I audible?
Hi, very clearly. Go ahead, Chirag.
Sir, I have a few questions. Like, we are into this IT business since quite long, and other leading players of Indian IT industry are also started same like when we started. So why there is a, delinquency in growing the pie and all? Because most of the whenever the IT boom and IT upgradation happening, the Indian IT sector able to capture a good tailwind of turnover and all. So this time in this cycle, do we change our strategy of getting orders and delivering the strategy and all in line with what the top players are doing in industry? Some changes did be initiated to, get the benefit of maximum of this tailwind which is scattered post-COVID world.
One clarification: we are not in IT. We are in IT/BPM, and majority BPM as opposed to majority IT. So our competitors are not really the IT firms that you're talking about. If you compare us with companies like FirstSource, WNS, EXL, Genpact, you will find that we have done reasonably well in comparison. But comparing us with IT firms is not necessarily the right comparison. We are not in that business.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Satish, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah. So congratulations on a very good performance. After a long time, I could see there is some flicker on your performance. And even the words also sounds to be very confident and reaffirming to the people who are investing in the company. Congratulations on that. Coming to the question the previous fellows asked, same question I want to repeat. You are not in IT, but in what way you can be compared with IT companies like eClerx? Can we compare your company with eClerx? And going forward, are you going to add any other vertical of cloud-based business models? That's all I want to ask.
Yeah, eClerx is similar in many ways. As I said, there are 4 or 5 companies who operate in the zone that we operate. eClerx is one, FirstSource is another, WNS, EXL, Genpact. These are the 5, 6 companies. Even Allsec, I would say, is a BPO company. Apart from that, the people that we compete with are captives of the firms in India. So yes, to your direct question, eClerx is a competitor, but we don't necessarily compete with them. But I would rather call them a peer as opposed to a competitor, because we don't come across eClerx in competing RFPs. So that is the answer to question number 1.
Yeah.
Question number 2, yes, we do want to grow our cloud practice. It's a small practice today, but we do want to grow it in the future.
Okay. And the revenue we are going to sustain, that is for sure. Because the confidence our company shows over a period of time, and this time, last time I participated in the same call, and you were sounding a little bit hesitant in telling something to the people. But this time I could see there is a confidence at your level. And the same confidence can I expect in the years to come? about performance?
I answered that question. It's not about 1 year or 1 quarter. You look at our performance over the last 10 years, look at our revenue CAGR, and then you will be able to ascertain what kind of growth they can expect from us. About confidence, lack of confidence, that's a subjective comment, sir. I don't know how many CEOs were confident when they were facing a pandemic about giving future projections for the company.
Okay, one final question, and ending here. Generally, you are an IT company who are much enabled in the what you call technology platform. Why your results are so delayed? When a company like Infosys or TCS can produce the results in the first week of every quarter or second week of every quarter, why you are delaying it so much? Because that creates a little bit of what you call misunderstanding in the market. So just I wanted to.
Yeah. So let me.
Yeah, I mean, COVID. Okay, Pala, you take it. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me take that. So clearly, results have come out later, and we had this unfortunate situation where there's some people from both from our auditor side and our own employees, who are required to finalize the accounts. They unfortunately had challenge. I mean, they had health issues arising out of COVID. So we took longer, but well within the time limit permitted by SEBI. But as we go through, we expect things to come on track in FY22. And clearly, we would like to close our results and come out better sooner.
Because you should understand that in just that confidence level, that gives credit to the company's aura in the market. That's what I want to tell you. I'm so attached to this organization. Yes, sir. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. To ask a question, you may press star and 1 now. The next question is from the line of Keshav from Raksan Investors. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for taking my questions. Congrats for FY21, especially for Q4. Sir, I wanted to ask that what is the tenure of your contracts you have with your clients? What if I can have even an average timeline?
Pala, want to take that?
Yeah. So our contracts are typically 3 years, but we have the same set of clients who have been with us for about 20 years or even more. So one is the contractual term where you may sign an SOW for say 3 years and they get renewed. But we've had clients who've been with us for many, many years, and as we mentioned earlier, about 60% of our revenues come from clients who've been with us for more than 10 years. So this is a business with long tenure clients.
Okay, sir. And do you also have shorter tenure clients? Maybe a smaller percentage, lesser than 3?
Some of them could sign as short-term projects, and based on performance, a lot of them evolve into long-term contracts.
Okay, so sir, this past 1 year, amongst the client onboarding that has happened, could you give a fair or even a rough idea as to how much percentage of them would be long term and maybe 3 or more than 3 and otherwise?
Yeah, most of them are long term. When I say long term, those are 2 or 3 years tenure. As I said earlier in the beginning, there were some contracts with the onset of COVID where clients wanted to turn short term. But as we went through the year, even they have turned long term. We do some work on the digital experience, etc., which is more like project based. But again, one SOW ends and another SOW typically starts.
All right, sir. Sir, one more thing. So, do you also have payments milestone based, as in among these contracts? Say there's a contract for 3 years. So, is it an annuity based business, or would it also have milestone components?
See, almost all our revenues come from what is called transaction-based or FTE billing. So we get paid per call answered, per transaction processed. And as I said, these are clients who've been with us for a long time. So we have recurring revenues from each client.
Okay. All right, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you.
It's not project-based.
Yeah.
Let me clarify.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, as this was the last question for today, I now hand the conference over to Mr. R. Ravi for closing comments.
Thank you, Rucha. Again, Ravi here. Thank you to all the participants for joining us in the post-results conference call. If there are any further questions or clarifications about the Q4 or on FY21 financials, please email me or to Pala, and we'll be more than happy to get back to you. This is Ravi signing off on behalf of the HCS management. Again, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for participating.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. On behalf of Hinduja Global Solutions Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.